You are on.
All right, so we're here today to talk about the Grand Canyon and how it was formed. So the Grand Canyon was actually, you can see that it's formed in layers. And by studying these layers, we can figure out what the Grand Canyon looked like across time as it was being formed. So this is what scientists do. They look for fossils in the different layers. They can also carbon date it to see how old these layers are. So the first layer, the youngest one, is still 27 million years old, and it's the Kaibab limestone layer. The fossils that you find here would be the brachiopods, sponges, sharks, coral, and fish. So I'm going to put up some pictures here of what they would look like. There's the sponges, and maybe you could get a close-up. So those are some sponges. Brachiopods. So you can see a brachiopod is like a shell, a variety of shells that lived in the ocean. Coral. And those are some of the fossils that you find there. So turn and tell your partner, based on these fossils that are found there, what do you think that land looked like when it was forming? Okay, so you might have guessed that this was in fact a sea. In fact, we know that these animals thrive when it is a shallow, warm sea with a muddy floor. Alright, so that is the Kaibab limestone. Next we're going to go on to the Coconino sandstone. This is dated to be 275 million years old. The fossils found in this one are reptiles, spiders, scorpions, and other insects. So I'm going to put up some pictures here so that you can get a visual in your mind what these fossils will look like. So here you can see scientists have found some tracks of reptiles and other animals that they've left on the land to prove that there were reptiles and those other things there. So turn and tell your partner what you think this land looked like when it was forming. Okay, so you might have guessed if there are reptiles, spiders, scorpions, insects, these are things that really thrive in the warm weather. So in fact, back then, this land was a large desert with sand dunes. So way back when, that was a very large desert. Next we're going to go on to the Hermit Shale layer. This is 280 million years old. The fossils found there were ferns, and this is an example of a fern. Conifers. Oh, I don't have a picture of the conifers. There were more reptiles found there, insects, and in fact there were dragonflies with over 12-inch wingspans. So, turn and tell your partner what you think the land looked like at that point. Okay, so scientists know that these plants and animals are ones that live in areas that have a lot of water. So back then, scientist theories that this was a plain that had streams. So there were a lot of streams in this area that had a lot of water that would enable these large ferns to grow. So a fern is a type of plant. And more reptiles, and it was so wet and such a good environment for the dragonflies that they got over 12-inch wingspans. So next we're going to look at the Bright Angel Shale. This is 515 million years old. The fossils found there include trilobites. You guys already know what trilobites look like, but here's a picture to jog your memory. So they found trilobites there. They also found burrows of animals like trilobites. So trilobites and other animals would burrow down and dig down and create a little home there. And last but not least, there was a plant there called the crinoid. So this plant looked like this. And so there were tiny little discs that made up the stem of the plant. So we know that there were trilobites there. There were burrows of trilobites and other animals that lived there. There were also crinoids there that were typically found on the seafloor. So turn and tell your partner what you think this land looked like and when it was forming. So you guessed it, these animals typically come from the sea. In fact, they prefer seeds that were muddy, warm, and shallow. So back then, this land was a warm, muddy, and shallow sea. Last but not least, we have the oldest layer, which is the Precambrian basement. It is 1.8 billion years old. So scientists here have found metamorphic rock, which means rocks that are made from intense heat and pressure. So actually, we have not found very many, if any at all, fossils from this period, because any fossils that were there would have been destroyed. So because of the rocks that were there, we know they need intense heat and pressure. How do you think that this land was formed? Turn and tell your partner. Okay, so you might have guessed that lava, when it comes to, when it's beneath the Earth's crust, is called magma. So magma flowed up from cracks in the Earth's crust. So magma is so intensely hot that it actually changes the rock and turns it into metamorphic rock. So that's all we have for today for About the Grand Canyon, and thank you very much.